Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. Normally I'm able to shoot an intro video before the campaign starts. This year, however, got away from me. It got away from me a little bit. Let me put on my Elder Sign pin here, because the outfit just isn't complete without that. There we go. So, as mentioned, we are starting the winter campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game. This year, we're going to be taking on the Scarlet Keys campaign. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm not in the game room right now with this, and the reason we're not in the game room is because the game room right now is set up to continue my 1985 replay in Season Ticket Baseball. So instead, the campaign is going to be streamed through a mod and tabletop simulator that we've used before on the channel. So I think we are all set. What say we tab in, and let's go ahead and meet our ladies that are taking on the campaign this year. First up, we'll meet our Monster Puncher. We're looking at Diana Stanley, the Redeemed Cultist. 1 will and 3s across the board. Diana gets +1 will for each card beneath her. Fast action, after a card you own cancels or ignores a card effect or game effect, if there are fewer than 5 cards beneath Diana, place that card face down beneath her. I think we'll leave that face up, though. Then draw a card and gain a resource, limit once per phase. Elder Sign effect is +2. You may choose a card beneath Diana and add it to your hand. 7 health and 7 sanity. Looking at her deck building options, deck size of 35. She takes Mystic 0 to 5, Guardian 0 to 2, Neutral 0 to 5. Deck building requirements that don't count toward deck size. Twilight Blade, Dark Insight, Terrible Secret, 1 random basic weakness. And as an additional setup, you begin each game with Dark Insight as an additional card in your opening hand. As a new business owner in Arkham, Diana Stanley was proud to be inducted into the prestigious Silver Twilight Lodge. Her joy has since turned to dread. Her admittance into the organization was fantastic for business, but the weekly meetings have grown more and more disturbing. After witnessing strange rituals and terrible secrets, Diana has become suspicious of the Lodge's true nature. Now she is convinced there are terrible forces converging on Arkham, and that the Lodge is somehow involved. Diana has resolved to take it down from the inside, regardless of the cost. One other thing I want to check here, I want to make sure my mic is on the razor. Okay, good. Mic is on the razor, so we're good there. And then we'll take a look at Diana's signature cards. As mentioned, she starts with Dark Insight in her opening hand. Fast, play when an investigator at your location draws an encounter card or a weakness. Cancel all of that card's effects and shuffle it back into its deck, but don't draw a new card to replace it. And then her signature asset is a Twilight Blade, Sanctum's Reward. Let me just double check. Dark Insight doesn't have any icons on commit. Twilight Blade's got Will, Combat, and question mark. As an action, you can fight using Will instead of Combat for this attack. You may play or commit events and skills beneath Diana as if they were in your hand. As an additional cost to play or commit a card in this way, exhaust the Twilight Blade. You can't trigger Diana's fast action ability while playing or committing a card this way. Her weakness is Terrible Secret. Revelation, if there are no cards beneath Diana, shuffle it back into your deck. Otherwise, for each card beneath Diana, you either discard that card or take a horror, but you can't cancel it. So ideally, we want to see that when there's at most 2 cards beneath Diana. We'll give that a quick shuffle. We'll bring the tarot deck down here because we'll need that in a minute as well. But before we do that, we need to meet Diana's partner in this campaign, Ursula Downs, the Explorer. 3 will, 4 lore, 1 combat, 4 agility. Action as a reaction after you move to a location, take an investigate action. Limit once per round. Elder Sign effect is +1. After this test ends, you may move to a connecting location. Discovery is easy. Understanding is the hard part. 7s across the board. Before we look at the back of Ursula's card, there is one thing I want to explain here. The way her reaction is worded, after you move to a location, take an investigate action. If there's an enemy that engages you at that location, you will take an attack of opportunity using that reaction ability, so be aware of that. Now looking at Ursula's backside, the back of Ursula's investigator card. Let's reword that a little bit, shall we? Deck size of 30, deck building options, Seeker 0 to 5, Relic 0 to 4, Neutral 0 to 5. Deck building requirements that don't count toward deck size. Jake Williams, Call of the Unknown, Random Basic Weakness. Not many people can say that they've climbed a mountain on every continent. Fewer still can say they've stolen a golden idol from a tribe of cannibals. Among women in a male-dominated society, Ursula is unique in being able to make these sorts of claims. Ever since she was a small girl, Ursula has broken the rules set down for her. Climbing trees, playing in the mud, exploring in the woods, and doing plenty of other things that a proper young lady shouldn't be doing. Since getting a degree in archaeology in Boston, she has been traveling the world searching for forgotten civilizations. Now looking at her signature card, cards, I should say. Signature asset is Jake Williams, Loyal Companion. Lore, question mark on commit. The first move or investigate action you perform each turn does not provoke attacks of opportunity. After you reveal a location or put a new location into play, you can exhaust Jake Williams to draw a card. And then her weakness is Call of the Unknown. Revelation, put Call of the Unknown into play in your threat area. Force, at the beginning of your turn, choose a location other than your location. When your turn ends, if you didn't successfully investigate the chosen location this turn, take 2 horror and shuffle Call of the Unknown back into your deck. And I think with that in mind, I'm actually going to use one of these other icons. I'll make that a... How do we want to do that? Let's make that a seeker marker. That way, I can mark it as the location I'm choosing for Call of the Unknown. Then we've got Ursula's bonded cards over here. Let me just double check. Okay. And I think Diana had some bonded cards over here. Okay. So we're very light on that. Those can just shuffle back into Ursula's deck. All right. And then we've got to set a little bit of scene before we start the campaign proper. All right, first up, we get a rare live story time with Phoenix. Usually I've got audio recordings, but this one I've not been able to audio record. We've got the Scarlet Keys campaign guide, The Secret War. By May or June, I realized that there was, all over the world, a surprising and unwanted burst of activity on the part of bizarre, furtive, and esoteric mystical organizations ordinarily quiescent and seldom heard from. H.P. Lovecraft for Hazel Heald, Out of the Aeons. Okay. And now let's read the prologue. Riddles and Rain, File 5A. Intro 1. The dark stifles. It moves like a living creature, constricts the air as if you were inside a shapeless cocoon. A figment of your anxious and overactive imagination, you hope. But everything about this meeting puts your nerves on edge. You almost didn't accept the mysterious invitation, but recent events have forced your hand. It's been several months since the disappearances began, and all of your leads in Arkham have dried up. Hold on a second. It started in the winter of 1924 with several vehicles in Southside. 2 Studebakers, a Cadillac, and a Rolls-Royce. All of them top of the line. One moment they were there, the next, nothing, save for a single deflated wheel. The police believed it to be the work of bootleggers looking for more vehicles to add to their routes, but the cars were too nice, would draw too much attention. Perhaps they were taken down to Boston or New York and flipped for a pretty penny, and that's just what you figured happened, until the disappearances continued. Next to go was a street lamp outside the Ward Theater in downtown. Then, 2 pets, a dog and a cat, whisked away almost simultaneously right out from under their owners' noses, not 2 doors down from one another. You learned the news when you saw the missing posters plastered all over College Street. On a whim, you interviewed the owners. No sign of foul play, and it was unlikely for them to have run away. Something stank about all of it. Then people started to disappear. A child from Easttown, a student in Miskatonic University, the chief of Arkham's fire department, and as the police closed each case with no clues or suspect, a curious thing began to happen. One by one, as time marched on, the things that went missing vanished not only from Arkham, but from memory. The owners of those vehicles suddenly claimed to have never owned them. The pets, the people, all of them were wiped from the memories of every single person in town. Everyone but you. You, and you alone, remembered. This is getting some serious 1984 vibes already. Perhaps it was simply the way of things. Humans are fickle and forgetful by nature. But it couldn't be so simple. It was just too strange. Coincidental. That's when the letter arrived. Greetings. I hope this letter finds you well. You do not know me, but I know you. I cannot tell you much through paper correspondence, as it may be intercepted. Suffice it to say that I know of the matters you were looking into, and I also know that you believe yourself to be alone in your investigation. The truth is that you're not alone. Such events are not unique to your city of Arkham. What you have observed is happening in major cities all around the world. I am one of those, like you, who seeks the truth, who remembers. There is another related matter which I must bring to your attention. I need your help, and you need mine. Enclosed is a ticket to a show at the Riverview Theater. If you wish to know more, please meet me there and we can speak further. Come alone. In truth, Lee Flint. The ticket in the envelope was indeed for a private showing at Arkham's new movie palace in downtown. With no other leads and no good reason to avoid going, you have decided to accept the mysterious invitation. If there's only one investigator in the game, as you can see, there's not. If there's more than one investigator in the game, the lead investigator must decide. Go alone as requested. Skip to intro 3. Go with backup. Skip to intro 4. So the loose translation here is, we're getting approached by somebody who claims to know something about this. I don't feel like walking into a trap, so we're going to go in with backup, because I don't trust somebody that I've only met through a letter. We're going with backup. We're going to skip to intro 4. Just as you were beginning to suspect that you have been played, you see a shadow approaching from the aisle. The figure spots you at once, sliding into the seat in front of your party. He wears wide, horn-rimmed glasses and a high-collared jacket over a silk vest. His brown hair is cut short and parted to one side, and he sports a handsome, neatly trimmed beard. To your relief, no other figures emerge from the shadows. I thought I told you to come alone, the man in front of you speaks without turning, letting his voice carry over the silent images on screen. The hard edge in his voice suggests he is not happy with your choice, but after a moment, he relents. I get it. You are prudent not to trust me. You should trust no one under the circumstances, myself included. You ask if you are speaking to Lee Flint, earning a slight nod from the man. Indeed, he says, Inspector Lee Flint, with the International Criminal Police Commission, and I'm sure you have a great many questions, but we are unfortunately short on time. Proceed to intro 5. Intro 5. Flint produces a file fat with documentation and slides it between the two seat cushions in front of you. Inside is a wealth of information regarding cases similar to the ones you have been investigating. Photos of vehicles, factory machines, and public figures. All missing. All forgotten. And just as Flint's letter promised, the file includes reports from all over the world. London, Shanghai, Bruges, Rio de Janeiro, Cairo. The list goes on and on. There's more, he says after giving you time to read. Flip to the end. You do, and what greets you there are two photographs clipped together. This first is a file of a street in London, distorted by some sort of interference. A light shines above the street corner, and around it, the picture appears to be pinched, like a miniature vortex is pulling reality toward it. The other is a photograph of a man on the other side of that same street corner, ducking into the shadows. He wears a tailored gray suit and a wide-brimmed hat that obscures his face. The only discernible detail you can make out from the photo is the man's distinctive red gloves. Rare as it is for a photograph to have color, you wonder if the long exposure time is what led to the strange blurring effect. This was taken by my partner several days ago, just before he, too, vanished. Whatever's going on, you can be sure that the man with the red gloves is somehow involved. Getting to the point, you ask Inspector Flint what exactly he wants from you. To work together. Share what we know. Sparingly few seem to know the truth. You agree. If what the man says is true, and events like this are happening all over the world, getting to the bottom of it will require more than just you. To that end, I would ask that you come to London with me. That man with the red gloves has been sighted in the area, and he's not alone. I would bet good money that he knows something about where my partner is. Arrangements have already been made. There are steamship tickets in that file. The ship departs from Boston in 2 days. The investigators must decide. Choose one. Take his offer, proceed to intro 6, or go to London on your own terms, Skip to intro 7. Well, he seems to be on the up and up. Still, things are nailed down almost a little bit too tightly for comfort here. But given that we're a little bit short on time, I think we'd better go with him. So we'll go with him. You accept the file and tell Inspector Flint that you will report to him with anything you find. With haste, you get your affairs in order and take the very next train to Boston. Flint has already given you more evidence to advance your case more than a month of investigation in Arkham. If working together with the ICPC will help solve this mystery, you have no qualms about putting your trust in him. You make it to London with time to spare and immediately set to work. Trust is born of naivete. Remove one Elder Thing token from the Chaos Bag and add a rune. This token can later be removed through an act of secrecy. However, you may become stronger if you stick to your convictions. Read the rules for tracking time on the next column, then proceed to setup. So tracking time is a new mechanic in Scarlet Keys, for those of you who might not be familiar with it. So we mark one time. I've got a calendar here for that. Okay, so tracking time. Throughout this campaign, tracking the passage of time is of crucial importance. As time marches on, these paranormal events will grow more and more dangerous, and machinations beyond your understanding will progress. Additionally, some opportunities may only be open to you during certain windows of time. When you are instructed to mark one or more time in your campaign log, fill in that many boxes under the time passed header. If you fill in a box that has a symbol in the form of a Greek letter, proceed to the status reports section of the campaign guide, find the status report matching that letter, and read the text that follows. So let me bring it up here, but this will be my time passes log that I'll be using for the campaign. You can see I've already marked off the first entry there. So that's where we're at, and now we're proceeding to setup. Let's see, Riddles and Rain. Here we go. Place all of that. And we want an easy chaos bag. What did we need to do? We needed to take... Oh, it's got a sound effect. It kind of startled me a little bit as I was finishing up setup. So we need to take an Elder Thing out of the bag and add a rune. Let's see. Yep. We'll drop that. I said, there we go. We'll drop that into the bag. Okay. So we can put the Elder Thing. We'll put the Elder Thing right there. All right. The module should have done everything else for that. Let's make sure we've got set aside. Let's see, the Crimson Conspiracy and Outsiders encounter sets. Some of the locations are put aside out of play, right? Each other location is set aside out of play. Okay. So we begin at the rainy London streets. But we need a tarot card first. We need tarot cards first. For those of you who are also not familiar with tarot cards, I usually do a balanced reading. So we take one on the good side, one on the bad side. So these are the two cards that we'll be playing with. First up, we have Judgment 20. When the game begins, replace a skull token in the bag with a 0. Swap them back after the game ends. Or, when the game begins, replace the highest non-negative token in the chaos bag with a skull. Swap that token back after the game ends. Or the Tower 16. Each investigator chooses one basic weakness in their deck and removes it from the game, and they go back after the game ends. Or, add a random basic weakness to each investigator's deck, remove them after the game ends. What's the skull in here? -1, -3 instead. I think we'll take the bad side on Judgment 20. We'll swap a non-negative with a skull. So that'll be a +1. So that'll be a +1 coming out. And another skull going in. All right, we'll give that a shuffle. All right, I'm going to make some notes in. Also, I need to go in the decks and I need to go into the decks and take each of their basic weaknesses out. Okay. Basic weakness for... Yep. Well, I'm going to be doing that in a second, but before I do that, I need to get Diana's basic weakness out, which is getting rid of the Mob Enforcer. And Ursula will get rid of... Where's her basic weakness? I thought I... Oh, I did. I gave her a back injury. I was going to say, I thought I gave her a basic weakness when that was all set up. Okay. So now we can get the tarot deck out of the way. We'll put our tarot cards that we're playing with over here. I've already noted them in chat, so they're out of the way. And now we'll take a look at starting hands. Dark Insight. I think I want to do that back here. All right. I'm going to have to take the long way around. All right. I'm happy to see a machete in Diana's starting hand. Okay. And let's see what Ursula's got in her starting hand. Ooh, happy to see Homeboy in Ursula's hand. Okay, now let's look at our starting hands. Dark Insight starts there already. We've got Eldritch Inspiration. We've got the Eldritch Inspiration Hypnotic Gaze combo in hand. So that'll be a good thing to have. We've also got a Machete, which is a way for Diana to defend herself. I think we're going to throw Hand of Fate and Storm of Spirits back. I want to see those more later in the scenario. We've got another Blade. And not in Ursula's hand. And a Vicious Blow. Okay. I'm happier to see those. And then looking at Ursula. I think I can mostly work with her hand too. Let me just refresh my memory on how concealed mini cards work. All right. Okay. Now let's work our way up. So, rainy London streets. Cold rain pelts the dreary streets in a rhythmic pitter-patter. Despite the hour, the square is bustling with automobiles, carriages, and pedestrians. Somewhere in this crowded city is the man you seek. Or are you already too late? And then that flips into Shroud of 1, 4 clues. Rainy Shrouds gets +X Shroud, where X is the current act number. Forced. If there are no clues on rainy London streets, add clues to it until it has 1 per investigator clues on it. As an action, we can resign. We should wait for Inspector Flint. Agenda 1A, When It Rains. Arriving in London, you patiently await your contact, but none arrives. Inspector Flint, or one of his proxies, was supposed to meet you at a quiet tea house tucked away in a narrow storefront just outside Trafalgar Square. Wondering what could have gone wrong and suspecting the worst, you set off to investigate. Forced. When this agenda advances, move all doom on it to the next agenda. And then Act 1A. Clues and capers. You draw your umbrella closer, using it to obscure your identity. Each person you pass on the street could be your contact, or out to get you. Objective. As a group, spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance before the agenda advances, and we need 4. Funnily enough, we've got 4 here on the rainy streets of London. So, Diana is designated as our lead investigator. We'll give the encounter deck a quick shuffle as well. We'll shuffle up the cast bag. Then, oh, that's slick. That it copies the scenario card down. That copies the scenario card down so I can actually see what it's doing. So that when I'm down here to make a pull, I don't have to go scrolling all the way up to the scenario and be like, what in the world is that card? Anyway, I think we are all set to go. So Diana will be our first investigator. Diana will start off by paying 3 resources. Which weapon do I want to play? I think we're going to play the machete out first, which gives her an action to fight. You get +1 combat for the attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, deal +1 damage. Cuts through vines, underbrush, and tentacles equally well. And given the number of times I've used this on humanoid enemies, we can add flesh to that list as well. Action 2. For Action 2, Diana is going to investigate. She's at a 3 to a 2. She's up 1. That's a rune, which is -1. If there's a concealed mini-card at your location, reveal another chaos token. But there is not, so Diana gets a clue. Action 3, she will run that back. 3 against 2. Elder Sign is a +2. You may choose a card beneath Diana and add it to your hand. Except Diana will get the second clue. So that's all 3 of Diana's actions. She is done. Ursula, for Action 1, she'll pay 4 resources to play out Homeboy, Dr. Milan Christopher. +1 lore after you successfully investigate as a reaction, gain 1 resource, 1 health, 2 sanity on soak. While I truly pray that this nightmare is just a singular abomination, I must admit that I am exhilarated by the possibility that this is but one specimen of a new genus. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak, as I mentioned. Action 2, she's going to investigate. She's at a 5 to a 2. She's up 3. Skull is -1, -3 if you have 2 or more clues instead. Ursula will get the clue. And then for Action 3, she will investigate. She's still up 3. She also gets a resource. -2. Not enough for Ursula to fail, so she will get another resource and a clue. And I'm not going to spend the clues just yet to advance because I don't want to get surprised by anything. So that's it for both of our ladies. Ursula's done. So now we do upkeep. We'd go through the enemy phase as well, but there's no enemies in play right now. And then Ursula would do the same thing. This upkeep button is pretty frickin' slick, I must say. And we've got another copy of Milan. And it even flips our mini cards up too. That's very handy. Alright, going into the Mythos phase, Doom on the agenda goes up to 1. Diana draws a card. Obscuring Fog. Revelation attached to your location, limit 1 per location. Attached location gets +2 Shroud. Forced. After attached location is successfully investigated, discard Obscuring Fog. And by the way, that's a forced when if there are no clues on it. We add clues until there's 2 there. There we go. And Ursula will draw. Undercover. If there are no enemies in the shadows, Undercover gains Surge. There are no enemies in the shadows, so that will Surge for Ursula. Into Heavy Rain. Test Will 3. For each point you fail by, you must either take a horror or place one of your clues on your location. They mostly come out when it rains. Mostly. That's for each point you fail by. Ursula's base even. That could ever put both clues on there. I'm debating how okay I am with that. Ursula's even, and she could get them. She could theoretically get them back. Of course, she could also theoretically draw and not have anything happen. So, I'm not sure I want to use the Dark Insight this early, but I think I'm going to. Actually, yeah, Diana has the 2 resources to pay to use Dark Insight. So she will use Dark Insight. I'm going to put that... Actually, let's do this. I'll use the hand for the cards that are beneath Diana. So we are going to cancel that, and that's when an investigator... Yes, when an investigator at your location draws an encounter card or a weakness. Cancel all that card's effects and shuffle it back into its deck. So that will bring that back to the encounter deck. Diana gets a +1 will because she canceled a card. Then she'll draw a card and gain a resource. And find a Storm of Spirits. Alright, and then before we leave the Mythos phase, I don't think there was a timing restriction on the act. There was not. So we will spend the requisite number of clues, which is 4. Come on. No. Alright, let's see if we can... Okay, that'll work. So we'll put those there, and then we'll advance the act. Let's see. Okay. Movement in the dark. You spot the figure on the other side of the street just as a bright red bus approaches. You are certain whoever was there was staring directly at you. The bus cuts a swath through the foggy street, and when it has passed, the figure is gone. Perhaps it is just your paranoia at work, but it can't be a coincidence. It must have either been your contact or one of their foes. Perhaps even the reason they're missing. Steeling yourself for any possibility, you set off in chase. Put the set-aside Kensington Gardens, Westminster Abbey, and Big Ben locations into play. Let's pull out the locations. Here we are. So we want Big Ben. We want Westminster Abbey and Kensington Gardens. Okay. The lead investigator draws the set-aside red-gloved man and resolves his keyword. So we've got the red-gloved man. All right. That involves taking his mini card and 1 per investigator decoys, shuffling them face down. So we need... Okay, let me just... Wait. Coterie agent. Okay, never mind that. All right, so hold on. Search. Okay, red gloved man. That's the one I need. And 2 decoys. Shuffle them up. And then divide it as evenly as possible among locations nearest to the lead investigator. So we'll put 1 here. 1 at Westminster Abbey, and 1 at Big Ben. Then we'll put that off to the side. The rest of those locations can go back, not in that deck. I want them in the set aside area. Okay. Let's see, and then advance directly to Agenda 2A without resolving 1B. Okay. Alright, so 2A, Figures in the Fog. Your mind must be playing tricks on you. Misshapen figures dance through the dense London fog whenever the rain lets up. Are these distortions, like the one in the photograph Inspector Flint showed you, or is it your quarry hiding in the mist and gloom? Forced, when this agenda advances, move all doom on it to the next agenda. Morning, Jester. Which scenario is this? What number of campaign is this? This is the first scenario of the... I want to say 7th or 8th campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game. Let me take a quick look here. Come on. It's taking its sweet time loading up. Here we go. So we've got Night of the Zealot, Dunwich, Carcosa, Forgotten Age, Circle Undone, Dream Eaters, Innsmouth Conspiracy, Edge of the Earth. This is actually the first scenario of the 9th campaign in the game. This is the Scarlet Keys. Let's see. Okay, so we have 1 doom on the 2nd agenda already. Okay. So that's not terrible. And now concealed mini cards, just double checking the rules here. So are not enemies and can't be engaged, but may attempt to expose it by successfully attacking or evading as if it were engaged, or by investigating its location. Okay, so the concealed mini card is exposed. Only one may be exposed per effect unless stated. That's a lot of stuff to get. Well, you don't necessarily. The nice thing about Arkham though, Jester, is you don't have to play absolutely everything in order to get to this. You can kind of jump around in campaigns a little bit. Now, granted, I have done a lot. I've done pretty much all of this in order, and my group usually plays these campaigns new as they come out. So we've got a lot of experience with this game, but you don't have to play absolutely everything. That obscuring fog is going to be a little bit of a problem now that we've got a concealed card there. Because now that makes the Shroud of 4. Ursula's 1 over the top of that. So let's actually have Ursula go first this round. And in case you're wondering what the card is here, that's not in my hand. The hand for Diana is actually down here. What I'm using these cards for is these are cards that are placed beneath Diana based on her special ability. So those are cards that I use to cancel and then put them beneath Diana. So hopefully that makes sense on what I'm doing there. Ursula is going to go ahead and try to expose this concealed card. So she's going to do that by investigating. That's her first action. She is a 5 to a 4. Because remember, it's a 3. Actually, hold on. It gets where it's the current act. So yeah, the current act is 2, which means it's a 3, and obscuring fog makes it a 5. So Ursula is actually even. I'm going to commit a Eureka to make it a 6. So I'm going to put Ursula up 1. That's a skull, which is a -1. So good thing we committed the Eureka. We'll deal with exposing the mini card in a second, but first Ursula gets to search the top 3 cards of her deck. So another I've got a plan, which I don't want, burning the midnight oil, which I probably do, and an inquiring mind. I will take the burning the midnight oil, which lets me investigate, and when this action begins, I gain 2 resources. That goes to Ursula's hand. And then we'll flip over to see what the mini card is. Actually, obscuring fog is gone. Now we'll flip over to see what it is. It's a decoy. So that goes away. For action 2, I think I'm going to have Ursula move over to Westminster Abbey. The Gothic Abbey near the palace is both a place of religious significance and a traditional burial site for English royals. Lights flicker in the windows as the gentle rain turns to an ominous downpour. You would not be the first to seek guidance on such hallowed ground, but you wonder what else may be at work within its aged walls. We're actually in Ruff's neck of the woods from the looks of it. Flipping this over is a Shroud of 1, 2 clues. As an action, Parlay, choose a location and test Will 1 to ask around the Abbey. For each point you succeed by, look at the revealed side of a concealed mini card at the chosen location without exposing it. Group limit once per game. Now, because I moved to a new location, I'm going to use Ursula's special ability as an investigate action. Remember, as I explained in the intro to this, when you take an investigate action this way, if there's an enemy at the location, you actually will trigger an attack of opportunity, so be careful about when you do that. Shroud is a 1, and I think I'm going to go after this concealed card. So Ursula's at a 5 to a 1. She's up 4. Elder Sign is +1. After this test ends, you may move to a connecting location. Well, we're going to expose the mini card. And do I want to have Ursula... Actually, let's flip over the card there. So the concealed card is another decoy. Ursula... She's got 1 action left. Ursula will move up to Big Ben. And I can't take the investigate action again. A fixture of the London skyline, the clock tower at the north end of the Palace of Westminster looms over the city, its face like the eye of a powerful watch guardian. At least I believe these 2 are connected. Yes, they are. So that flips into... Move that out of the way since the clues spawn on the other side. Shroud of 4, 2 clues. As an action, choose a concealed mini card at Big Ben or a connecting location and test Agility 2. If you succeed, look at the revealed side of that concealed mini card without exposing it. If you fail, take 1 horror. Limit once per turn. Let's see. So chase down the mysterious figure before the agenda advances. If an investigator engages the red-gloved man, advance. Ursula's got 1 action left, so she's going to investigate to try to reveal this concealed mini-card, even though I know already, by process of elimination, this is the red-gloved man. She's at a 5 to a 4. Ursula is up 1. That's a 0, so we expose the mini-card, and hey, look at that, it's the red-gloved man. So that will come into Ursula's threat area engaged with her. We'll take a look at this before we advance. Shroud of 5, 2 per investigator. Actually, it's 5 fight value, 2 per investigator, which is 4, 5. Concealed 1 per investigator, retaliate. The only detail I could remember was his gloves. Red as blood. Victory 1, health and sanity on attack. But since we engage the red-gloved man, we advance. Okay. The chase is on. After much toil and pursuit, you finally catch up to the figure you've been chasing. A feeling of vindication washes over you as you spot the red gloves the man wears. It was no phantom you chased. This is the one you have sought all along. You corner him in a narrow alleyway, sheets of rain and fog masking your approach. Several more figures flank the man. A meeting, perhaps? To your surprise, he casts an expressionless glance in your direction. Then, fast as a flash of lightning and gone just as swiftly, a formless shape ducks out of view. A chunk of a nearby building goes along with it. When you turn to question your quarry about what happened, they have all fled east. You inch forward and examine the partially excised wall, covered in an ectoplasmic substance, like the negative of an undeveloped photo. Set the red-gloved man aside out of play. Put the set-aside Tower Bridge and the Tower of London locations into play. Shuffle the set-aside Crimson Conspiracy and Outsiders encounter sets into the deck, along with the discard pile. Advance the agenda directly to Agenda 3A. Do not resolve 2B. Okay, so that brings... Okay, so the Crimson Conspiracy and Outsiders sets. So Crimson Conspiracy and the Outsiders. Oop. The whole set, Phoenix. There we go. Let's see. And then what locations do we want? Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. Let's see. Tower of London. Oop. Wait. Those still go aside out of play? No, they go into play now. Okay, connected to where then? Let's see, connected to... I bet the connection is the Tower Bridge. Yep, that looks like a connection. Let's see if I can zoom this. If I can make these locations a little bit bigger. All right, so the red-gloved man, the mini card for him presumably gets set aside. All right, so let's take a look at these 2 locations, since, well, technically they're not supposed to be revealed just yet, but we know what's there. So I'll put those off to the side. Okay. All right, so those are the 2 locations in play, and we advance the agenda directly to 3A without resolving 2A. The connection. It is clear now that Inspector Flint's hunches were correct. The man in the red gloves is not operating alone, and whatever he's up to, it has something to do with the recent vanishings. You could wait to report what you have seen, but by then the man and his cohorts may have already put into motion whatever scheme they're planning. No. You have only one choice. You must find the man with the red gloves at all costs. We need 9 doom to advance. And we have 1 because the previous 2 agendas instructed us to set aside the other cards. Alright, then Act 3A, Eyes in the Tower. Your gaze turns eastward in the direction you last saw the man heading. Over the Tower Bridge lies the famed Tower of London, where even more eyes watch your approach. These belonging to a conspiracy of dark and brooding ravens. For what reason could he be heading there? Objective. Only investigators at the Tower of London may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance, and we need 6. Ursula, unfortunately, is out of actions, and she's way out of position to be able to help us out. Let me see if I can make this... I want to try to make that a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. That'll work. So it fills in. We'll do the same thing here. There we go. Okay, so now we need to get these clues. And now that's a shroud of plus X, where X is the current act. So now it's a shroud of 4. For action 1, Diana's going to move over to Westminster Abbey. Then action 2, she's going to investigate. She's at a 3-1. She's up 2. -2 gets her a clue. Action 3, she'll run that back. Skull is a -1, which also gets her a clue. So now we're up to 2 clues. And then that will do it for Diana. That'll do it for the investigation phase. No enemies in play, so now we do upkeep. Spectral Razor. Ooh, that could be useful. And Ursula will draw a Hawkeye folding camera. 2 cost to play, will on commit. As a reaction, after the last clue is discovered from your location, place a resource from the token pool on this card as evidence, but limit once per game at each location. While Hawkeye folding camera has 1 or more evidence, get +1 will. 2 or more, +1 lore. 3 or more, +1 sanity. So the red gloved man should be back out of play. Mythos fit. Actually, this should have also been shuffled back in. Right? Yes, along with the discard pile. Okay. Second Doom on the agenda for the Mythos phase. Diana draws. Figures in the dark. Uh-oh. There are no enemies in this. If there are no enemies in the shadows, Figures in the dark gains Surge. There are no enemies in the shadows, so Diana gains. So that gains Surge. Seeing shadows. All right. Revelation. Put seeing shadows into play in your threat area. Forced. After you fail a skill test while at a location with a concealed mini card, take 1 horror. 2 actions to discard seeing shadows. Okay, that's not that terrible. And then Ursula will draw Substance Dissimulation. For each set-aside hollow you own, if there are 1 or more copies of that hollow in your play area and or hand, discard those copies and take 1 and 1. If no cards are discarded by this effect, choose a non-weakness card you control in your hand or play area and set it aside out of play as a hollow. File number AV-245, supplemental. No energy conversion observed. What happens to hollowed matter? Ursula is going to put hyper-awareness aside out of play. Right? As a hollow? Yes. So if we choose a non-weakness card you control in your hand or play area and set it aside out of play as a hollow. Okay. All clear there. So Diana... Right, Diana got both clues off the location. Okay. Now, we want to start working our way... We're going to start working our way down toward the Tower Bridge. So I think with that in mind, we should probably work on trying to get some of these clues, too. I think Ursula will go first. As action 1, she's going to go ahead and play out her Hawkeye folding camera. Action 2, she's going to investigate. She's only up 1. But I think that's where she'll test. That's a rune. That's a -1. If there's a concealed mini card at your location, there is not. So Ursula does get the clue. And then for action... took it off. Whoops, hang on. Took it off the wrong location. That should have come off of Big Ben. And then for action 3, right now that's at a shroud of... That's at a shroud of 4. I think Ursula will move down to rainy London streets. And then since she moved, she will take an investigate action, which will be to investigate there. Just as the same she was at Big Ben, she's going to be up 1. That's a 0, so Ursula gets another clue. Alright, that brings us up to 4 clues already. And Ursula should have 2 more resources, so that's done for Ursula. Diana is going to move Action 1 over to Rainy London Streets, Action 2 down to the Tower Bridge. Spanning the River Thames, the newly built Tower Bridge has quickly become a cultural icon, connecting central London with the East End, which has seen much growth in recent years. To the north, just over the bridge, a dark cloud encircles the Tower of London. And then that flips into... we got to put the 2 clues back on there. Shroud of 2 clues. As an action, maybe there's another way in. Test Will or Lore 5. If you succeed, put the set-aside Trader's Gate location into play. Stories have been told of the prisoners who were brought to the Tower of London by barge along the River Thames. Perhaps you could follow their morbid example. Action 3, though, Diana is going to investigate. She's up 1. And pulls a rune. Since there's not a concealed mini card, she doesn't have to reveal another token. But she will get a clue, and pretty soon we should be able to discover... we should be able to move into the Tower of London outright. Actually, I think we can now. The main gate into the tower is locked and securely guarded. As an additional cost to enter the Tower of London, investigators at the Tower Bridge must spend 2 clues as a group, 2 per investigator clues as a group. And we actually need 6 clues to advance as well, so we do need to keep an eye on that. Anyway, that is it for Diana. That's it for the investigation phase. Still no enemies in play, so the enemy phase isn't a thing, and we do upkeep. Diana finds a very welcome Drawn to the Flame. She's at 8 cards in hand, so she doesn't have to discard. Ursula will find... oh no, Call to the Shadows. Okay, this is a problem. So at the beginning of her turn, she's going to have to mark a location, and if her turn ends, if she didn't investigate the location, take 2 horror and shuffle it back in. Okay, that's problematic. Mythos phase, Doom goes up to 3 on the agenda. Diana will draw. Knives in the Dark. Put Knives in the Dark into play in your threat area if there's no copy of it. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. Forced after you expose a decoy, take 2 damage, limit once per round. At the end of your turn, a Forced, test Agility 3. If you succeed, discard Knives in the Dark. And then Ursula draws a Pinch in Reality. She either has to spend a clue or choose and discard half of the non-weakness cards in her hand, rounded up. Flint, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I think Ursula is going to spend a clue. We can probably get the clue back more easily than losing 2 cards in her hand. So I don't think we're going to bother with that. And then I'll have Ursula go first. She's going to name the Tower Bridge as her location. That's what this icon is for. So I'll use that to mark her location, and then I'll flip it over when the if the location gets successfully investigated. Before I continue Ursula's turn, I need a quick drink, though. Okay. So for action 1, Ursula is going to move down to the Tower Bridge. She'll take her investigate action from moving into a new location. That is a Shroud of 2. She's at a 5 because of Milan. She's up 3. Skull is a -1. -3 instead if you have 2 or more clues, so we get away with 1 there. That gives her the clue, a resource for regular, and a resource for Hawkeye Folding Camera, so now she's got +1 will. And then for action 2, Ursula is going to try this test on... Ursula's going to try... actually, this should be flipped over as well. Ursula's going to try the test on another way in. She's at 5, so she's even. Diana's got nothing to help her out with it, so even for Ursula. Skull is a -1. That fails. Action 3, she'll run it back. -2 also fails. Okay, that's unfortunate, but nothing that can be done about that. We can spend the 4 clues, though, if we want to go in there. And I think that's the way we'll go. I think that's the way we'll go in as a group. So Diana will spend 2 clues. Yeah, we'll have Diana spend 2 clues. Once I get them both highlighted, there we go. And then Ursula will spend 2 clues. And Diana will move into the Tower of London. Actually, we'll do that. So the main gate into the tower is locked and securely guarded. We just spent the 4 clues for Diana to move in. And she will find a Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Forced. After you end your turn in the Tower of London, you must either lose 2 resources or each enemy in the shadows attacks you. Okay, so that was action 1 to move in. Action 2. Do I want to use a Drawn to the Flame here? We're going to have to spend some clues at the... We're going to have to go get some clues. We're probably going to have to spend some time back at the rainy London streets. Diana is going to use a Drawn to the Flame, though, to get those 2 clues for action 2, so she will draw. A Coterie Agent, concealed 2. After it enters the shadow, and it will place a doom on it. When it's exposed, discard it. A flash of red and fleeting shadow. Alright, so we get... Let's see, that is concealed mini cards. Concealed keyword. Concealed X. So, when a scenario includes 1 or more concealed enemies, yada yada yada, they spawn that enemy in a game area called the Shadows. So we're going to put the Shadows... we're going to put the Shadows to the side over here by the tarot cards. Then we take the set aside mini card that matches the enemy along with X decoys. So we'll grab Coterie Agent A out of here and 2 decoys. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. Shuffle them up, and then we'll spawn them evenly around the locations. So we'll put 1 there, 1 by Ursula, and 1 up at the rainy London streets. And then Diana gets the 2 clues. Which brings us back up to 3 clues. And then for action 3... For action 3, Diana's going to move back out to the... is going to move back out to the Tower Bridge, because I'd rather not have her there. And then Diana has to test Agility 3 for Knives in the Dark. If she succeeds, we discard it. Unfortunately, Diana is even. That's a Skull, which is a -3 if we have 2 or more clues. So Diana still is feeling the Knives in the Dark. Alright, that's it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Coterie Agent is in the shadows. So now we do upkeep. Ooh, Diana finds a Read the Signs, but she's going to have to discard something. Probably going to be the Enchanted Blade. Actually, no. Diana doesn't have to discard. Ursula will do upkeep as well. She will draw a Grisly Totem. 3 cost to play, agility on commit. After you commit a card to a skill test, exhaust Grisly Totem. That card gains another instance of one of its skill icons of your choice. We should have thrown it back immediately, but how could we have known? Mythos phase brings us up to 4 on the agenda, with 5 in play because of the shadows. Because of the Coterie Agent in the shadows. Diana will draw Substance Disillusion. This is the same... Substance Dissimulation. This is the same thing Ursula had earlier. She will put her Enchanted Blade aside as a hollow, since she doesn't have anything in the hollows. And then Ursula will draw Hunting Shadow. She either has to spend a clue or take damage. A shadowy figure follows you in the rain. When you look at it, your head pounds in agony and your vision blurs. Ursula doesn't have a clue to spend, so she has to take the 2 damage from that. That was a pretty uneventful Mythos phase. Moving into the investigation phase, Ursula is going to move into the rainy London streets for action 1. Actually, she's going to name the rainy London streets as her action. She'll take an investigate action. Let's go for... do we go for the concealed mini card, or do we go for the... clue? Because we need both. Let's go for the mini card first. That way we can get rid of this coterie agent. So the Shroud right now is a 4, because it gets plus act. So that'll be 4. Ursula's at a 5. She's up 1. That's a -1. So that'll get her the... So that means she successfully investigates. She flips over her Call of the Unknown and will flip this mini card. It's a decoy. So that goes away for action 2. Ursula will investigate, try to get the clue now. Still up 1. That's a skull, which she gets a -1 for that, so she gets a clue from there. We got another resource for the Hawkeye folding camera, and then we'll get 2 more clues up at the rainy London streets. Let's see, then for action 3, she'll run the investigate back again. She's up 1. Skull is still a -1, so Ursula gets another clue. Very nicely done, Ursula. As for Diana, let's see, that is... After you fail a skill test while at a... Okay. Alright, so Diana is going to use the machine... We can attack it as if it was an engaged enemy, I believe. By either attacking or evading it or by investigating its location. Okay, so Diana will try to attack the concealed card using the machete. So she's at a 4 to a 2. Diana's up 2 with the machete. That's a -3 because Diana has 3 clues, so Diana fails. And because of seeing shadows, she's got to take a horror. Action 2, she'll run that back. Tentacle touch, so Diana takes another horror. Action 3, let's try it again. Oop, hang on. -2, which is enough to pass just barely. So we expose the mini card. It's the coterie agent, so that's fortunate, which means the coterie agent now gets discarded. Beautiful. So that actually worked out pretty well, all told. That's it for... Actually, we got to test Knives in the Dark, Agility 3 for Diana to try to discard that. She's at even, and she passes, so Knives in the Dark is gone. Alright, that is it for Diana's turn. That's it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we got rid of the only enemy in the shadows, so now we do upkeep. And Diana finds a welcome sight in Gret Wagner, the Purifier. +1 combat. After you defeat an enemy, exhaust Gret and deal a damage to her to discover a clue at your location. Ursula's upkeep involves Jake Williams, her signature ally. It doesn't flip over the marker I'm using for Ursula's Call of the Unknown, so that's something I do need to keep an eye on. Mythos phase, 5 Doom on the agenda. Diana draws. I just got rid of this thing. Knives in the Dark. Seriously? Alright. Ursula has a Crypt Chill. Revelation, test Will 4. If you fail, choose and discard an asset you control. If you can't, take 2 damage instead. So Ursula is base even. And she will commit... She'll commit Jake Williams to go up 1. So up 1. That's a -1. Good thing we went up 1. So Crypt Chill goes away. And now we're back to the investigation phase. Do we have enough clues now? We do not. Ursula's going to name... the only clue left. She's got to name something other than her location. We're going to name the Tower of London. Now, the other question I have that I need to see... That enemy is now exposed. And if there are no other enemies in the shadows, set all remaining concealed mini cards in play out of... Or in play, out of play. Okay. So that we established was a decoy. Alright, coming back to Ursula's turn. Well, actually, let's see if we can get the clue here. So that's a Shroud of 4. She's at a 5. Actually, she's at a 6 now. Ursula's up 2. 0 gets her the clue, and now we can go into the Tower of London and advance. So action 2 to this tower bridge, action 3 to the tower. And Ursula will investigate there. Technically, there's usually no reason to investigate a location that's got no clues on it, but there are other game effects that make you investigate the clues that are locations that are empty. So Ursula will investigate. She's up 2. Skull is a -3, so that will fail. And at the end of her turn, Ursula takes 2 horror and shuffles Call of the Unknown back into her deck. I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that was going to happen anyway. And then since Ursula ended her turn there, she's got to lose 2 resources. Fortunately, she's got a boatload of resources she can lose from investigating there. Then Diana is going to go action 1 into the Tower of London, where the ladies are going to spend their, 6 clues? Yes, they're 6 clues. Spend their 6 clues to advance the act. All right, here we go. He's here. Quietly and cautiously, you follow the figure from a distance. With measured haste, he darts to and fro inside the ominous tower, searching for something. Finally, while you watch from the shadows, the man with the red gloves finds what he is looking for. A loose brick among the candlelit hall's many columns. He casually rotates the stone back into place with its kind of nonchalance as if he were dealing with a piece of misplaced laundry. To your surprise, a section of the nearby wall rotates in turn, revealing a secret passageway. He ascends into the darkness, and you follow in secret. Put the set-aside Tower Prison location into play. Attach the set-aside Eye of Raven's key to the Tower Prison, not controlled by anyone. Move all concealed mini-cards in play to the Tower Prison. Draw the set-aside Red-Gloved Man enemy and resolve his concealed keyword, putting all of those concealed mini-cards into play at the Tower Prison. Jester, you're still here, just listening and setting up a game for later. All good. There's a lot going on in this campaign, or in this scenario. So, let's just check what it wanted us to do. Put the set-aside Tower Prison into play. That's probably going to get connected there, yep. Okay. So there is a forced on there. We won't worry about that just yet. I will scale the Tower Prison up. Okay. All right. Looking at the unrevealed side here, forced. When a concealed mini-card would enter play anywhere other than Tower Prison, put it into play at Tower Prison instead. What could the man with the red gloves possibly want in this place? All right, so draw the set-aside red-gloved man and resolve his concealed keyword, placing all of those cards at the Tower Prison. So we need 2 decoys. All right, so we'll just put those. We'll just do that with these, okay? That's everything there. All right. Caught red-handed. Somewhere in these forgotten crypts, the man with the red gloves is searching for something. But for what purpose? The red-gloved man gains Parlay. Test Lore or Will 5 to interrogate the red-gloved man. If you succeed, place 1 resource on him. Objective: stop the red-gloved man from stealing the Eye of Ravens. If he's defeated, or if there are 1 per investigator resources on him, advance. Okay. Then action 2, Diana's going to move into the Tower Prison. Shroud of 4, 2 per investigator clues. While an investigator at Tower Prison is performing a skill test, spend 1 clue. That investigator gets +2 skill value for this test. Forced. When a concealed mini-card would enter play anywhere other than Town Prison, put it into play at Town Prison instead, or Tower Prison instead. Victory 1. So we've got the 4 clues to the side there. What to do? Do we try to read some signs? Unfortunately, Diana would only be up 1, despite being able to add her will to her investigation for this attack. And I don't like the idea of investigating down 1. Ursula will come in for some help later. You know what? Let's actually try to attack. Oh, wait. After you fail a skill test while at a location with a concealed mini card, take 1 horror. And after I expose a decoy, take 2 damage. Let's actually spend 3 resources to play out Greta. This way I've got a little bit of soak available to me. That'll do it for... Actually, Diana should have... That was action 2 to move in. Then action... Actually, no. I think it was action... Diana started here, so it was action 1. Then she spent the 2 clues. Action 2 to move into the tower prison. Action 3 to play Greta. Okay. Now that we've got that straight, Diana's going to test agility 3 to try to get rid of knives in the dark. She's at even... And a 0 gets rid of it again. Let's hope it doesn't come back for a 3rd time. Alright, the only enemy right now is the man in the red gloves who's in the shadows. Okay, so now we need to find him. And now we do upkeep. Diana finds another Eldritch Inspiration. Okay, that could be useful. Ursula finds an Occult Lexicon. Ooh. Limit 1 per deck. After Occult Lexicon enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodright. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Occult Lexicon leaves play, find each of those copies of Bloodright, even if they're out of play, and remove them from the game. Okay, that'll bring us up to 6 Doom on the agenda. Diana will then draw Obscuring Fog, Shroud +2. Delightful. Actually, can we cancel that? No, we can't. Ursula will draw Hunting Shadow. She's got to take another 2 damage. Alright. That's it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase. Ursula will start by moving into the tower prison, and she's going to investigate using her special ability. She's going to... She's at a Shroud of... She's actually even to try to pull something off the location. Let's go for... let's go for a clue. So Ursula's even. -2 fails. Action 2, we're going to spend 2 resources to play out her Occult Lexicon. So we'll get 1 copy of Bloodright into her hand. We'll take a quick look at that. Bonded to Occult Lexicon, it gives you Will, Lore, Combat on Commit. Draw 2 cards, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal a damage to an enemy at your location. This doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. So we'll move those in. And then Ursula will use Burning the Midnight Oil to run the Investigate back to get most of the resources back. She paid, actually, all the resources back. You'll sleep when you're dead. She's even, and we'll go for a clue again. Elder Sign is +1. After this test ends, you may move to a connecting location. So she's not going to do that, but she will get a clue. 1 clue, not all 4. And then Obscuring Fog goes away. And then that is it for Ursula here in the investigation phase. As for Diana, 2 actions, that can get bent. Then action 3, she's going to attack and try to... she's going to use the machete to attack and try to reveal one of these concealed cards. She is going to use the machete. Actually, she's +1 now because of Greta. Rune is a -1. If there's a concealed mini card at your location, there's 3, so now we have to reveal another token. Let's see, that's a -2, so Diana fails that test. I'm going to move the lead investigator marker up here so I can keep the scenario card down here. Unfortunately, that is it for Diana's turn. That's it for the investigation phase. The only enemy is the red-gloved man, but we need to try to find him first. And we do upkeep. Diana draws Shriveling, but she's got to discard. We're going to discard a Storm of Spirits. Or not, yes, Storm of Spirits. Ursula draws another Burning the Midnight Oil. That could be very useful. 7 Doom on the agenda. Diana will draw for an encounter. Locked door. Oh, joy. So now we have to attach to a location with the most clues and without a locked door. Unfortunately, that's the tower prison. So now we've got to test Combat or Agility 4 to pick... Combat 4 to break down the doors or Agility 4 to pick the locks. discard locked door if we succeed. Ursula will find Undercover. If there are no enemies in the shadows, Undercover gains Surge. Otherwise, test Lore or Agility 4. If you fail, place a decoy at the location with the most concealed mini-cards. Flip it face down and shuffle each concealed mini-card at that location. Ursula is going to test Lore for that. She is up 2, thanks to the Hawkeye folding camera and Homeboy. That's an Elder Sign. Ursula's staying put, though. More importantly, that's gone. So now we need to deal with picking the stupid lock. Either of our investigators are going to be even trying to pick the lock. Diana could get up 1, potentially, to try to pick the lock with a Vicious Blow. And I think that's what we're going to go with. So action 1, Diana's going to test combat to try to break down the door. She'll commit a Vicious Blow to the test. Diana's up 1. That's an Elder Sign, which lets me choose a card beneath, which gives me a +2, and it lets me choose a card beneath Diana and add it to my hand, which I will gladly do and pull Dark Insight back to my hand. So that's gone, as is the locked door, which means now we can start trying to attack the location. Action 2, Diana's going to try to do just that, to try to find one of these mini cards. She's at even. That's a -1 that fails. Action 3, she'll try it again. That one also fails, unfortunately. And I actually did realize that I had a card I could have committed, but I'm not going to walk that back now. That's it for Diana. Ursula's first action, she's going to investigate, trying to go for one of the clues. She's up 2. That's a 0. Ursula will get a clue. Action 2, she'll run it back. She also gets a resource. Tentacle touched. That's unfortunate. Action 3, do it again. Going for a clue. -2, that'll get Ursula another resource and a clue. Right, that'll do it for Ursula. That'll do it for the investigation phase. The only enemy is the red-gloved man in the shadows, but it looks like we have all kinds of time to deal with him. So now we do upkeep. Diana finds a sledgehammer, which could be very useful, but we have to discard a card for that. I'm going to toss a Read the Signs, and then Ursula will draw another Bloodright. Okay, that could be very helpful. Mythos phase goes up to 8. Diana draws another Obscuring Fog. That sounds like an Ursula job. Ursula finds a Coterie Agent, so unfortunately that goes into the shadows, and we get another set of cards in the shadows. So we get Coterie Agent. We'll use Coterie Agent A again, and then we need 2 decoys with that. Okay, we'll shuffle those up, and those all go to Tower Prison. And I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to take everything here, shuffle them all up. Actually, we can probably just leave them in a stack and flip them over one at a time. We'll do it that way. Okay, into the Mythos phase, or into the investigation phase. Ursula's going to start by investigating. She's at even. Am I going to commit anything to make this easier? We will commit... Actually, let's... Before we do that, let's go for action 1 to pay 3 resources for a Grizzly Totem. As a reaction, after you commit a card to a skill test, exhaust Grizzly Totem. That card gains another instance of one of its skill icons of your choice. We should have thrown it back immediately, but how could we have known? Action 2, Ursula will investigate. She'll investigate using Burning the Midnight Oil. She's going to commit I've Got a Plan, and then exhaust the Grizzly Totem to give it another lore. So Ursula is actually going to be up 2 on the test. That's a rune, which is a -1, but since there's a concealed mini card, we have to reveal another token. Whoop. Well, a 0. That's not what I meant to do, but it'll work anyway. So fortunately, that's gone. So Obscuring Fog's gone, and that'll give us a... Do we want the clue or the mini card? I think we'll take the clue. That way we make sure we get the victory points out of this. And now we can start dealing with these mini cards. So for action 3, Ursula's going to try to investigate that again. She's up 2 now. Actually, we need to get the resource for the Hawkeye folding camera, so Ursula up 2. Skull is a -3, so she fails that, which is unfortunate, but that's it for Ursula. Diana is up 1 trying to attack the concealed mini card, so let's start off with that. Yeah. That's a -1, so we do get to look at a mini card. It's a decoy, because of course it is. Action 2, we'll do that again. -2, Diana unfortunately fails. Action 3, we're going to run that back again. This time we're going to commit a vicious blow to go up 1. Actually, to go up 2. Yep, we're attacking using the machete. And Greta. A 0 gets us another mini card. Let's see what we've got here. We find the Coterie Agent, which actually discards it because it's got a special effect of when it's exposed, discard it. So that didn't really help us out too much. It just stopped. Well, we were already advancing the agenda anyway, so not that worried about that. But now we do. Now that's it for the investigation phase. No enemies no enemies relevant right now. There's the one up in the shadows, but nothing we can do about him right now until we find him, and we do upkeep. Diana draws another machete, which I'm not completely happy to see. Ursula will draw a Chthonian Stone, Stygian Waymark, 3 cost to play, seal one of the bad symbols. Forced after you reveal an Elder Thing or a tentacle during the skill test, return the Chthonian Stone to your hand. Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda. Let's see. Mysterious shapes. As the night grows deeper and the rain becomes a torrent, you flinch at every moving shadow, every sound, every shape. You wonder if perhaps this investigation is getting the better of you, or maybe there are more of them than you thought, watching you, lying in wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. The lead investigator must decide, choose one. Search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Coterie Agent and draw it. Shuffle the encounter deck. Each investigator takes 1 and 1. I think rather than pulling another Coterie Agent out and having to shuffle these, we're going to take 1 and 1. And Ursula, yikes, she's getting a little bit high on damage for comfort. All right. And then Agenda 4A, Plots and Panic. Deep fog blots out the moonlight, bathing the city in utter darkness. From the rooftops, ravens watch your progress with inhuman intelligence. Every moving shadow sets your mind racing. If you don't find the man with the red gloves and stop his plans, who knows what he'll do next? Now we draw encounter cards. Diana finds a hunting shadow. She either has to spend a clue or take 2 damage. She's got to take the 2 damage. Ursula, damn it, finds a Coterie Agent anyway. That's not what I wanted to see happen at all. And now we've got another. Hold on, there should only be 4 decoys in there. So I'm going to pull 1 out. There was a concealed 2. So yeah, there should only be 4 decoys in there. Okay. Now that we've got that sorted out, Ursula's going to go first. She's investigating +2 to reveal one of these Coterie Agents, or one of these mini cards. So let's go with that. That's a rune. Since there is a mini card there, we reveal another one. That's a +1, so that'll work. That'll get us a mini card, and we find the red-gloved man. So Ursula makes friends with the red-gloved man, and if he thinks he's going to survive, he's dreaming. So for action 2, we are going to use a copy of Bloodright. Draw 2 cards, discard up to 2 from your hand. For each card you discard this way, we either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal a damage to an enemy at my location. So we'll draw 1 and 2. Discard 1 and 2. Then we'll spend 2 resources to do 2 damage to the red-gloved man. Then action 3, we'll do that again. And then when he's defeated, or if there's one or more, so he's going to be defeated here momentarily. 1, 2. That's an easy discard. 1, 2. Spending 2 resources to do another 2 damage to the red-gloved man, and he has been defeated, so now we advance. Technically, he'll land in the victory display. Okay, so now we advance. If we defeated the red-gloved man, and we did, the figure reels backward, grasping at his wound. Something small clatters to the ground. Oh, I forgot to attach the Eye of Ravens to the location, but that would have been there anyway. We'll probably be taking a look at that in a second, but I'm getting spoilerific. The figure reels backward, grasping at his wound. Something small clatters to the ground. The man says nothing, only glares at you from the darkness. His gloves seem to ripple around his hands, like the disturbed surface of a deep crimson pool, and after a moment, he straightens himself. Then, blending into the shadows, he tips his hat and he is gone. Add the red-gloved man to the victory display, R1. Okay. Actually, there's one more note I want to make. Okay. Resolution 1. You search for the man with the red gloves through every possible hiding place and down every shadowed corridor, but he is well and truly gone. It is as if he vanished into thin air. You wonder for a moment if he was somehow erased from existence like the other disappearances, but you don't believe so. There's no mark, no ectoplasmic remains. He simply was there, and then he was not. You give up searching for him, and instead examine the object that clattered to the ground during your scuffle. It is a small ruby marble, no larger than an eye. Indeed, you investigate the crypt that the man was rummaging through, and find that the marble's size matches the eye sockets of the long-deceased corpse inside. They must have been buried with it, meaning perhaps this marble was what the man with the red gloves sought all along. But why? And that's actually a misspelling in here. Investigating further, you find neither name nor epitaph identifying the corpse buried here. Only the following lines of what appears to be poetry chiseled into the lid of the body's coffin. Within red we are bound. Through red we are one. Thus in red do we bury our kin and our ken. May you rest until you are needed once more. Before you have time to even consider what this might mean, you hear the telltale rumbling of the secret passageway shifting upstairs once more, and the pounding of heavy footsteps down the stairwell. You arm yourself and prepare for a fight. To your surprise, it is Inspector Flint who greets you, held at gunpoint by a woman dressed in a black suit, wide-brimmed hat, and matching black trousers. She has ebony dark skin, cold eyes underscored by heavy bags, and short, curly hair. 2 other suits flank her. Both of them say nothing and stand like statues as she enters the crypt. She flashes an unidentifiable silver badge and motions for you to stay put. Where did the man with the red gloves go, she asks, and who are you? Can I put my hands down now? Inspector Flint says. Each investigator earns experience equal to the victory X value of each card in the victory display, which is a total of 2. Choose an investigator to be the bearer of the Eye of Ravens and update the campaign log accordingly. From now on, whenever a character becomes the bearer of a key, keep that key handy for the rest of the campaign, as it will begin play attached to that character. In future scenarios, the Eye of Ravens begins play attached to the investigator it is bound to. So let's take a look at the Eye of Ravens. That was supposed to be attached to the Tower Prison, but I never got back to that. So the Tower Prison. Shift. During a skill test at your location, the performing investigator sets their base skill value for this test to 6. Flip this key to its unstable side. File number 5-A19. Subject class, yellow. Key appears as small red marble found lodged in an eye socket of a deceased coterie operative. Paradimensional capabilities unknown. On the unstable side, shift. Draw the top card of the encounter deck. Then, if an investigator shifted this key, flip it to its stable side. Completely impregnable despite all piercing and crushing attempts. What could possibly be inside? A device or another world entirely? That could actually help Diana out immensely by setting her base will to 6. Especially since I've got a lot of cards that are based on Mystic, and yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to make Diana the bearer of the Eye of Ravens. So that's what we're going to do there. Hopefully I can add that to Arkham DB. Let me look out now before... Let me look that up now before I forget about it. So let's go to Deck Builder, Edit... I want to see if it'll let me add the Eye of Ravens to Diana's deck. Let's see, I want to start that on the stable side. No, it won't let me add it to her deck, so I'll have to make a note. Actually, let's do this. We're going to save that as an object. The Eye of Ravens attached to Diana. Let's see, that should let me... Now, where do I go to spawn objects? Objects. Here we go. Saved objects. Perfect. Got it saved. Okay. Wanted to make sure I had that straight and I had a way to get to the Eye of Ravens quickly for future scenarios. In your campaign, so coming back here, in your campaign log, record you haven't seen the last of the red-gloved man. Mark one time in our campaign log, and proceed to interlude the Foundation. Oh, this is going to be a long one. The Foundation 1. Talk, the woman commands. I'm a detective with the ICPC, Flint barks back. Flint, Lee Flint. And you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble when they hear about this. I assure you, I will not. And you? She asks, glaring in your direction. You explain that you are independent investigators working with Flint. She takes a moment to read your gaze, presumably to tell if you are lying. She, like Flint, seems low on trust. Finally, after a long-baited moment, she holsters her firearm. Flint's hands drop to his sides. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. We have been after that red-gloved man for quite some time. This is the first time we have gotten this close. He seems to have a knack for slipping away. She nods to the two suits flanking her, a tall, athletic, pale-skinned woman and a sharp, clean-shaven man, and motions toward the wall. Where were we? Oh, yeah, toward the walls. They keep a hand on their holsters as they scour the perimeter of the room. And who is we, exactly? Inspector Flint asks. You've been wondering the very same thing. Your interrogator has a British accent, but she doesn't seem to be part of any local outfit you've ever heard of. She waits for confirmation from her two subordinates before continuing. All clear, ma'am, the man states. She sighs and crosses her arms. All right. What I am about to tell you cannot leave this room under any circumstances. Is that clear? Am I clear? Flint shrugs. Under penalty of what, exactly? Summary execution, she states without hesitation. Your throat closes tight. Even your partner flinches for a moment. Well then, I don't suppose we have much of a choice, do we? He glances at you. You nod. You might as well hear what she has to say. I am Commissioner Taylor, and these are Agents Hudson and Antonova. We are with the Foundation, an international agency devoted to the discovery, research, and containment of objects with paradimensional capability. What kind of baloney? Flint practically laughs. But the woman who calls herself Taylor shows no sign of humor. Neither would Diana and Ursula, most likely. After the Great War, many treaties and accords were signed. Paris, Versailles. But keeping the peace wasn't the only goal. There were oddities, you see, during the war. Things that did not add up. The Foundation's purpose is to find these things that do not add up and ensure that they cannot be used for such purposes ever again. Well, this is a hell of a con you buttons have cooked up, Flint says, but the darker tone in his voice indicates he doesn't even believe himself. And you're inclined to agree. The fact that Commissioner Taylor even knows of the red-gloved man at all is proof that she has inside knowledge. You decided that it's more likely she's telling the truth than lying, and ask what she intends to do with you. She paces in uncomfortable silence before finally letting out a sigh. Well, I certainly can't have your investigation running parallel to my own, and you might have information that could be pertinent to our work. So I say we work together. Work together, or work for you? Flint asks, his eyes narrowing. She allows herself a smile. You are a clever man, I'll give you that. She nods to Agent Hudson, who produces several badges and hands them to you. You will be your own cell of the Foundation, operating under our authority, but with independence. All you need to do is agree to report your findings to us. She locks eyes with Flint appraisingly. You'll be our point of contact. You ask Taylor what you get out of the arrangement, besides the lifted threat on your lives. We'll hand over the intel we have on the organization the Red Gloved Man works for, and provide travel papers that can get you anywhere in the world, no questions asked, at our expense. Flint eyes the badge like one might an explosive, turning it over and over in his hand. 2 minutes ago, you were pointing a gun at me. Now you're offering me a job? Yes. Well, are you in? You pull Flint aside to speak with him in private. The discussion is short and hushed, full of conjecture and paranoid theories about this Foundation and their true motives. But in the end, you decide to accept her offer. If it will help you get to the bottom of whatever is going on, it is the only real choice. Very well, then, Taylor explains. The Red-Gloved Man is just one operative of his organization, or perhaps its leader. That we are unable to determine. They call themselves the Red Coterie, so named due to the red garments they wear. They are after artifacts scattered across the world which possess paradimensional capabilities, the very same kind of objects we seek to find and contain. We call them keys. You ask Commissioner Taylor what she means by the term paradimensional. Imagine a cake with many layers, she explains. Everything we see and feel exists on one layer, but there are many more layers above and below ours. Something that is paradimensional exists on one layer, but draws energy from other parallel layers. As a result, these keys operate outside the laws of our dimension, cause and effect. If left unchecked, they can be used to inflict terrible harm on the world. Our job, your new job, is to get them out of the hands of the Coterie and keep them secure in Foundation custody. If these keys are as powerful as the Foundation believes, you agree that they should be kept in safe hands. But you can't help but wonder what this has to do with the disappearances you've been investigating, if anything. Flint locks eyes with you and gives you the slightest shake of his head. He has no intention of telling them. The investigators must decide, choose one. Tell Taylor about the disappearances, proceed to the Foundation 2. Don't tell Taylor about the disappearances, skip to the Foundation 3. Well, we need all the help we can get here, so I'm inclined to tell her about the disappearances, because I think they could be related. I don't believe in coincidences here, so we're going to tell her about the disappearances. You decide it's best to tell Commissioner Taylor, why you were looking into the Red Coterie, Red-Gloved Man to begin with. Flint lets out an audible sigh. She mulls it over for a few minutes, then shakes her head. That is something to look into, but your primary objective is to acquire the keys the Coterie is searching for at all costs. Am I understood? Taylor further explains that she will forward any relevant information to Flint's office with some sensitive details omitted, of course. She will also provide the ICPC with the requisite papers regarding Flint's new position. Oh, and Agent Flint, she says on her way out, addressing him by his new title. Your cell may have the independence to act on their own accord, but do not forget that you report directly to me. I expect you to do so without reservation should you discover anything of import. He nods, only the slightest hint of resistance giving him away. Remove one Elder Thing token from the Chaos bag, add one rune to the bag. If there are already 4, each investigator earns 1 experience instead. In your campaign log, record the cell told the truth to Taylor. Skip to the Foundation 4. The Foundation 4. The next morning, your cell meets at the tea room near Trafalgar Square, where you had originally intended to meet the previous night. Together, you go over the documentation provided to Flint by this Foundation. It's all a bit difficult to believe, if I'm being honest. Flint says, but everything checks out. The travel papers, the job transfer, all of it. Not even my boss questioned it for a moment. I guess we're secret agents now, eh? You agree. Unbelievable as it might seem, it's no less strange than the matters you had already been looking into. Right. Well, I think the best thing to do is to split up. Shanghai is where I grew up. I have connections there I can leverage. So I'll head there first. Where you want to investigate next is up to you. Meet with me later, and we can figure out where to go from here. The Foundation has several leads concerning the whereabouts of the Red Coterie. One is likely in Inspector Flint's home city of Shanghai, where there have been many rumors about the existence of a secret cabal led by a mysterious woman with a red parasol. In Alexandria, there have been a rash of beastly killings throughout the city. The Foundation has reason to believe a member of the Coterie is involved. A string of high-profile burglaries in Buenos Aires has led the Foundation to believe that one of the Coterie members is responsible. It is likely a key is the primary target. A member of the Coterie has a sanctum in Nairobi. Perhaps there you might learn what they have planned. The Foundation had procured the journal of a prospector recently working in Anchorage. Perhaps the site of a key? A Coterie agent operating out of Istanbul has already reached out to Foundation operatives. A defector, perhaps? Or it could be a trap. Locations in Kathmandu have reported seeing a spirit matching the description of another Coterie agent. A deadly Coterie agent has been sighted in Marrakesh. Reports of tomb robberies and strange growth matching the of strange overgrowth have the local Foundation operatives on edge. A Coterie agent has made a name for himself in Havana, where rum and other illicit goods are being smuggled into the United States. Read the rules for embarking and travel, and the Foundation dossiers on the next column. Then, when you are ready to embark, or when you are ready to proceed, embark from London to a new location. Just going to refresh my memory on this real quick. Should just take a quick skim. For each path you use, you got to mark a time, yada, yada, yada. Number and letter combination, which looks to be over here. Okay. All right. Okay. For the remainder of the camp... Oh, once you've stopped at a location, you can't stop there again unless instructed otherwise, and there are a number of dossiers. And we go into the dossier. Okay. So now we're going to be looking at this map. It's a little bit hard to see. Actually, let me bring it up top so I can show you the map that we're looking at here. So this is the map we're going to be looking at. This map of the Scarlet Keys campaign is available on Board Game Geek. Let me see if I can get a link to that. So bear with me for just a second. And of course, Board Game Geek is taking its own sweet time. Oh, come on. Hurry up. Just going to follow up here with checking in on stuff on my phone while I wait for the Geek to load up. Here we go. Arkham Horror, the card game. At least I think there's a file on the Geek. Looks very geekish, but let me see what I can find about that. All right, well, while I'm looking for that, let's go to... Let's see, so we started in London. Let's go to... Yeah, we're embarking from London, so let's go to... Let's see, that would be 1, 2, 3 paths. Okay, here we go. We got the files. I'm deciding now where I want to travel next. Let's see. How in the world am I going to search for this? Of course it won't let me search for files, will it? Because that would make way too much sense. Well... Actually, I wonder if I sort by, not language. Let's go English. Maybe that'll help cut it down. Probably not a lot, though. Delightful. It's not going to let me search. Well, let me see something here. Let me see if I search by Scarlet Keys. Does it let me search for files? Probably not. Anyway. While I'm still seeing if I can do that, I'm just deciding where I want to go first. Let's go to, let's see, from London, 1, 2, there a quicker path to Tokyo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, 5. How about 1, 2, 3, 4? Actually, there wasn't a scenario in... I don't think there was a scenario in Tokyo. Let's go to... I don't want to get wrapped in narrative because that's one problem people have had with this campaign is there's a lot of narrative in it. So I'm trying to keep that at bay as best I can. But there may be some of that stuff coming in. So I think we're going to start by going to... Actually, if we stay close... Let's actually go to Havana first. Let's see if... So we'll spend 2 time. We're going to start off in Havana. Let me see if this turns into a scenario. So that's going to mark off 2 time on my log. And Havana takes me to 28I. Let's see, 28I is a scenario. Okay, so that is where we'll start. That's where we'll start next week. We will go into 112 scenario. Dancing Mad. Before that, I'm going to try to shoot an upgrades video like I normally do during these campaigns. As for what else is coming up on the channel, later this afternoon, we're going to have the next block game in my 1985 replay in season ticket baseball. We will be at Dodger Stadium as the San Diego Padres will be in town to play the Los Angeles Dodgers. Then on Wednesday, we're going to be playing G.I. Joe, the deck building game, to take a little break from 1985. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Marvel Eat the Universe cookbook with the side Shang-Chi's Salt and Pepper Squid Rings. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.